Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel for another video on Gran Turismo Sport. We're taking part in Daily Race C, last week's Daily Race C at Fuji in the Group 3s. A very enjoyable combination. I actually had quite a lot of fun with this. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please remember people, hit that like button. It will help the channel grow. So yeah, much appreciated. Anyway, getting back on with this. We're driving the Porsche. It wasn't particularly the fastest car for this race over the race distance. However, I'm really enjoying driving the Porsche recently on this game. I think it suits my driving style. The first two races that are taking place on this video are driving with the TGT. However, a lot of people will know we have since upgraded our rig finally to Fanatec, and I am so happy with Fanatec. Much more suited to my driving. It's the force feedback feels much better to me. I'm actually preferring it to the TGT, and I think we've actually gained quite a bit of speed out of it. So yeah, 100% happy with that purchase. But let's get on with this race. Starting from P1, in this first race, you can see decided to try to race from the front. This was with the TGT, driving the hard tyre. Now, you may have noticed that the brake bias is on -1 to 0 through this video. It's because I've found recently MR cars do seem to prefer more of a neutral balance now. They seem to be very understeering when you use -5. As we fast forward from lap 1, you see we managed to get through turn 1 okay, and there was a bit of chaos behind us. So we managed to hold off the medium tyre runners for that opening lap. You can see there, coming to the end of lap 1, and we've still got ourselves in P1. I'm actually able to defend into turn 1 again because we were given slipstream to the different drivers to try and make them battle through turn 2. Turn 1 and 2, turn 2. So yeah, still in the lead as we go through halfway through lap 1. You can see the driver behind the Mercedes, obviously on their medium tyres, a lot more traction, a lot more braking potential with the medium tyres, and obviously the Mercedes a little bit faster down the straights, and also in a slipstream the Mercedes very good. You can see he's going to go for a lunge. Is he going to go for that? No, we defend that line. We're going to hold him off as long as we can, whilst trying not to lose too much overall pace in the race. You can see he's definitely looking very racy. We're going to go into this right hand corner, very tricky corner, especially when you're on the hard tyres with that heavy fuel. We're going to actually decide to just let him through here. You see, I decided to go wide. Now, this was very tactical. I decided to just let him through there because we're obviously on the hard tyre and the Porsche isn't the fastest down the straights. So I then go very wide through that final corner to compromise his entry into corner and give myself a very strong exit. So this is going to help the Porsche out now down the straight. You can see getting right into that slipstream, and hopefully we might be able to get ourselves back into the lead by tactically letting him through on that final the final sector there before the final corner. You can see picking up that slipstream. Are we going to go for our famous dummy? We go to the left, back to the right. He's going to squeeze us, but our car's already there. We've got enough of the car on the inside. Brake as late as we can on the hard tyres. Try and hold the apex. You can see that the Ford has took advantage of that as well. That is great for me. Them two can battle for a little bit longer. And then, yeah, we're going to carry on lap 3, still in the lead with the hard tyres. This is obviously very good if you can carry on in the race, starting on hard tyre and still be in the lead on lap 3. It should bode well. Now, I didn't know if there was any other drivers behind us that had also started on the hard tyres. This was one of the early races that I'd done on this combination, so wasn't too sure on the strategy in terms of when to pit and stuff. But yeah, we carried on these hard tyres. You can see fast forwarding through these laps, and still on lap 4, still in the leaders race. So tactically doing this race pretty much spot on. As we see now we've got that Mercedes back behind us, looking extremely aggressive. A lot more grip off them tyres, especially in the braking zones. He's going to go wide there. Very clever move. He fakes it around the outside. He gets himself a better run on the inside. We're going to hold the outside and try and make him go around the outside of us now, as we now hold the inside all the way on the acceleration zone into the very heavy braking zone for a tight hairpin like chicane. And he fakes a move, goes down the inside. We give him space and he doesn't turn. He just goes straight into us. I don't know if he just outbraked himself or what, but let's have a little look at the replay. He goes for that move. I possibly think that he just didn't brake very well, or he didn't really make much of an attempt to really turn. If you watch the replay, look, just straight on into us. I don't think he even made an attempt to turn the wheel. But yeah, we'll let him off with that. It was an attempt at an overtake, went a bit wrong. No harm done. We're still right behind him. And as I say, we're on the hard tyre, so I wasn't too worried at this stage. We're in a good position. We've still got that slipstream. We've got that Ford on our right now. We're going side by side with the Ford GT. Can we hang it round now? Try and hold the inside line. Let him go around the outside. He's going to have no grip on the outside. Their tyres are going to start fading a little bit, the soft runners. So hopefully now I can just try and sit in the slipstream for as long as I physically can to this Mercedes as we bite in hard to that final corner, getting on the throttle nice and early as we now skip ahead to the end of lap 6. You can see coming through to the final corner on the end of lap 6. Now this is going to be interesting. This is a point where I should have pitted really off the hard tyre. I should have actually pitted on the end of lap 5 to get the most gains out of the medium tyre. However, there wasn't really a gap to pit into. Now, I was going to pit then, and I decided to stay out. Have a little look on the other cars pitting. We can see that there is another driver on the hard tyres. Now, this is going to be very awkward because he's going to come out on medium tyres, fresh medium versus my worn hard tyres. And he's going to get a massive undercut over us, and he might be able to get himself into P2, which would then put him into the lead of this race, which could be quite bad for myself. You can see a lot of battling during the race so far, trying to hold people off. As actually gave the other hard runners a shot at this race, and the only benefit I'm going to have here is very, very fresh tyres for the last 5 laps. However, not really the best way you can run this race. You really want to go with the hard tyres. The longest when we did it was 6 laps, I think. Technically, you should probably try and do lap 5 and then do 7 laps for the mediums. It will last pretty well with the lower fuel on the cars. We get the new fresh tyres on. Medium tyres, where are we going to come out in this race? We come out the pits, having a look down behind us, and then no one behind us, but there they are. We have actually been overtaken, and unfortunately for ourselves, the leader is the car on the medium tyres. That is not what we wanted. We really wanted the hard runner to be in the lead to hold that other medium runner up. So we're gonna have to we've got a lot of work to do in this race as we fast forward now till when we catch up to the rear of that Mercedes. Hopefully that won't take very long. He's obviously on hard tyres. He is getting the slipstream from the medium runner. However, he's going to really struggle for traction and for grip out of some of the slower corners. You can see there, we're actually picking up the slipstream already from that Mercedes. As we go to the start of lap 9 now, as we are in fast forward mode till we get to the rear of that Mercedes, you can see the Mercedes is actually hanging in quite well to that Dodge Viper on the medium, considering that the Dodge Viper is on the medium tyres, the Mercedes is on the hard tyres. However, now you can really see the advantage that the medium tyres has given to us. We're really getting close to the rear of that Mercedes. As we go to the main straight, you can see we're in a position here to go for some sort of dive. Are we going to go? We'll go to normal speed now. You can see we've got the medium tyres. It looks like he's just going to let us go. I don't think he's going to battle that too much. He knows that I'm on the medium tyres as we go down that inside line. And we have a little look behind us in the mirror, and he gets on that curb, on the power, and to the shadow realm he has gone. Completely wiped himself out there. So now we've got a comfortable P2. No one behind us, so we can actually just concentrate on driving and seeing if we can catch that Viper up ahead of us. Will the Viper stay cool? He's obviously been on them tyres for that, I think it was that extra lap or so, wasn't it? So he pitted lap 6, so he's got to do 6 laps on the mediums, and the Viper is in general quite aggressive on the tyres. The Porsche a little bit better, especially on the front tyres, so we should have a better front end through some of these corners. And we see we've actually got into that slipstream quite quickly. Will we have enough grunt down the straight? Unfortunately, the Porsche, not particularly the fastest car when it comes to straight line speed, but it does have a very good ability to get on the power nice and early with the traction off the rear tyres as we go through the tight twisty sections there, the fast flowing corners as well. And we're coming through to the final sector now. You can see we've got very, very close to the Viper in front of us. We've really got into a position here, it looks like with the fresher tyres, where we're going to be able to go for an overtake. As long as we're around 5 tenths, 6 tenths behind him here at the start of the lap, if we can get ourselves going onto the straight around 5 tenths behind him, we're in a good position. You can see we're actually 3 tenths there on the power nice and early, losing a bit of time there but gaining a bit on the exit there, and we're under 5 tenths going into the final corner, going down to first gear. Going to try and get on that power nice and early into second gear. We've got a brilliant exit there. You can see we're under half a second. Now there's his one move over to the right hand side of the track to break the slipstream. He goes again to the left, that's 2 moves. Then he goes again to the right, that's 3 moves. Then again he's going to go back over to the left, that's 4 moves. And then he decides to go straight back over to the right, that's 5 moves. Then he goes back to the racing line, that's 6 moves. I was quite annoyed at this, so we decided to go Daniel Ricciardo mode, full send into the turn 1. And we managed to make the corner, but just don't manage to make the move. I was quite annoyed at him for that amount of moves because we would have had an overtaking opportunity, quite simple one, I believe. So he did wind me up. I was giving him the flash of the lights. I think 3 moves, fair enough, you know, going into defensive corner, or 4 moves at a push, but 6 moves on the straight is quite frustrating. It's not allowed. It's in the rules. It's in the sportsmanship rules. It's in the rules of many racing series. So again, we're not very happy here. We could go very wide, try and get very tight in on the apex, go into first gear. I shouldn't have really done that. Should have stayed in second gear, but I was really wound up at this point and decided again, we're going to have to go for a dive into this corner. I think he knows it's going to come. You can see I'm flashing him. I'm going for this no matter what he wants to do. We look at the replay camera. We're going to chuck it up the inside there, and we make that stick perfectly. He actually braked a little bit late. Daniel Ricciardo giving us a thumbs up there for that move. Finally happy we make the move done. And the final lap of the race, we're going to have the win in this race. A great move on the final lap. I don't think he was particularly happy about the overtakes. However, I think if he hadn't have done that down the straight, we wouldn't have had to do them type of moves, and I wouldn't have been so annoyed. But yeah, a really good move into that chicane. Pulled it off perfectly, got on the brakes nicely, made the corner. He went a little bit too aggressive and understeered a bit if you watch the replay. And yeah, we got a much better exit off the final corner here. Powering down to the finishing line, even with the Viper's extra speed, he's not going to be able to gain. His tyres were starting to fade, and we go over the line in P1. So race 1, victory. Very happy with that one. You can see P2 finishing behind us, just 5/10 behind us. Quite a scruffy race finishing time because a lot of battling was going on. But yeah, an enjoyable race nonetheless. A lot of different tactics. I don't think the tactic was the fastest way. I think the fastest way to do it is definitely starting on the mediums, because if you start on the hards, you end up getting in a lot of battling situations in that race. You find yourself battling with other cars that you wouldn't normally be battling with because you'd be pulling away from them. So race 2 now, we've got much faster drivers in this lobby. We've actually got I think P1 and P2 in the EU leaderboard starting in front of me in the race. They're driving, I think, the Dodge Viper and the Mercedes. So Mercedes in P1, or it might be the Dodge Viper. I can't actually tell, but I know that Francis is 100% in that Dodge Viper. So 2 cars that are very fast for the race conditions. Porsche still solid, but it's going to struggle to keep up with the slipstream, so we'll have to see what we can do here. Going into turn 1, yeah, they're both in the Dodge Viper, the car that was probably the strongest for race conditions and qualifying. It was very, very fast round here. That Dodge Viper has become quite a strong car recently in Group 3 as we now try and hang on through here. We're on the medium tyres this time. We're going with the safer strategy in terms of using the cars ahead of us for a little bit of slipstream, as we see P1 make a little bit of a mistake there. Francis trying to take advantage of that. Looks like he's going to go for a move on the inside, decides against that, decides to hold back and just wait for his opportunities. For me, a little bit of battling from them is not going to do any harm, and Francis nearly wiped out by that curb there. Managed to save it though. We give him a little flash of the lights. Hopefully he hasn't got any dirty tyres into this corner as we go through to the heavy braking zone, trying to hold a tight line into the apex. Clip the apex there on the throttle, tuck it into the apex again, on the throttle again, power out, upshift into second, and we see that the leader has cut the corner. 1.5 second penalty. I didn't even see how much he had cut that. I think that was a bit of a harsh penalty, if I'm honest. This is where I think we need, I spoke about it many times, we need a warning system for them minor little infringements like that which don't actually gain you any time. I think we need a warning system for these daily races. Maybe 2 warnings, the third one you get a 2-second penalty or a 3-second penalty. But yeah, it's a bit harsh that he's pretty much out the race because of one tiny error like that, but that's the way GT Sport is at the moment. I'm up into P2, and now we need to stick to Francis and try and stay with him. Francis very fast round here, obviously in that Dodge Viper, so on the straight you can just see how much power, barely gaining any time in the slipstream, so fast down the straight. And what was actually quite worrying was that the GTR, even with the power nerf, I think was still actually faster than the Dodge Viper, I think, when I tested it out. So yeah, not so good through the middle sector though compared to the Dodge Viper. The Dodge Viper definitely better through these sections than the Nissan GTR, I think. As we come through to the end of lap 2, you can see Francis got a little bit scruffy there. We're very, very close to him here with the Porsche. We might be able to go for a move, and at this point I wasn't sure if he was on the medium tyre or the hard tyre, because this race was done quite late at night. I think it was after we had streamed a few hours after. Decided to jump on and get some footage for videos, as we see going for a very wide line there, trying to widen the line so I can get on the power earlier to give that Porsche a little bit of extra grunt down the straight. And you can see I actually go too wide. That affects your exit speed, and you can see that ruins the possibility really of going for a move into turn 1. Let's see if we're going to be able to go for one though. Will we be able to go for one of them Daniel Ricciardo dives into turn 1? I'm not sure if we're going to be able to do it here. Let's take a look. We're gaining under 3 temps to Francis, and have a little look, but no, I'm not going to dive from that far back. There's no point risking it from there. Going to play it safe and just carry on and use that slipstream again. Hopefully we can gain some time in the acceleration zone. Just got to be very careful through the fast corners. Obviously we're in a little bit of dirty as we follow Francis there, and he decides to cut quite a big chunk off that corner. It looks like that's going to be a penalty. That's a 1-second penalty. That is going to be very costly, because that is actually going to probably put myself over the slipstream range when we get to the straight. Now this is going to be very important. I need to stay with him as closely as possible so that I can try and get away from him on the slipstream. Let's see now on the main straight, when he's about to take the penalty, how much time is he going to lose? You can see we've got a car ahead of us though that is actually going to give myself a bit of slipstream down this straight, which will help me out, but it's also going to give possibly a bit of slipstream to Francis once he catches him up. Let's have a little look. The gap is over 1.5 seconds, near enough. We're going to go into that braking zone, and yeah, it looks like we've got rid of the dirty air nearly. It's 1.5 seconds into the braking zone, trying to make sure that we don't get in too much of the cars, the ghost dirty air. Obviously you do pick up the ghost slipstream and dirty air, as you'll see now, into the slipstream, and we actually gain a bit of time even in the Porsche. But yeah, I don't know what this lap marker was doing. It's very unusual in a top split race to be lapping someone on lap 4. Maybe he was trying to join in our race at the front, but that didn't work out too well for me. Left behind quite early on, as we now go over the line, into the pit lane. On lap 7, you can see that Francis is going to follow us, and you see, yeah, 7 laps on the mediums didn't really cost me much of an issue. He's in our slipstream, just about managed to get just back into it, and now we're coming out the pits. On lap 7, will we be in clean air? This is extremely important. We should be fairly cleanly in clean air. There shouldn't be any issue with traffic. Out the pits in P1, and we've got Francis behind us, around 1 second behind. So again, we're going to have to concentrate, try and put some good pace during the middle sector where the Porsche is quite strong, and hope that Dodge Viper isn't going to be too close to us on the final long straight. That is really a slipstream zone where that Dodge Viper is going to gain so much time on the Porsche. Let's have a little look through here. You can see through this section, Porsche pretty good, fairly strong into the braking zone, try and hook that apex up on the power as early as we can. Watching this replay camera, and again, game looks absolutely stunning. It brings me into this GT7 thing. I really like, back to the GT7 comments. I think that Gran Turismo 7 doesn't need to push the visuals massively more. We just need a bit sharper visuals, more features in the gameplay. That will do me. More options, more cars, more tracks. I really hope that's the way they'll go. We need, yeah, slightly better graphics with PS5. We want to see that, but we don't need to have ultimate graphics without the features. I'd much rather have a bit better with more features, day-night cycle, weather, stuff like this. But let's see how that pans out as we now get ourselves onto the final straight. Is he going to be close enough to go for a move? So yeah, trying to make sure that I'm hooking up the exit and the entry of the corner. You see, trying to get on the power as much as possible, to go to the right hand side to break that slipstream. We've got Francis behind us there. We're going to go back over to the left. There's our one main move in terms of breaking the slipstream. But you can see staying in a straight line now as Francis gains. I wasn't sure if I'm going to need to go defensive here, but look at that closing speed. So decide to go to the middle of the track. But I don't think Francis, yeah, he's not going to go for the move. So we're going to go back and take the normal line, as Francis, sensible driver, isn't going to go for a move there. He was a bit too far back anyway, so we can take our normal racing line. And now we accelerate through the middle sector. You see again, fast forward in this action here as we fairly static through here. Both cars pretty similar in match through here. As we see a little bit of a wobble in the rear view mirror from Francis. But yeah, everything so far we're holding on, but it looks like Francis is going to be much closer on the straight now. You can see we've gone over to the right hand side for our main move of the slipstream. I'm going to stay to the right here because there's no point me going to the left to let him go on the inside. We're just going to stay to the right and try and hold this defensive line. But look at the speed of that Viper. He's actually fully past us. So back into the slipstream. Can we get a bit of toe and go for a dive down the inside? We brake as late as possible down to first gear. Hold the apex. We don't want to run wide and push him wide. We hold it really nicely and get ourselves back into P1. I think Francis probably could have defended that a bit more, but I think he chose to play it safe, and he probably knows that with the power of that Viper, he's going to be able to get ahead again on the straight, and then probably next time he'll hold the inside line as we now follow. Again, on lap 10 of 12, a couple of laps to go, 3 laps to go, including this one. Can we hold on to the win in this race into the braking zone? You can see that Viper having to take a bit of a different line to the Porsche. Porsche was able to really attack the apex and get on the throttle quite early as well. So actually gaining a bit of time on that corner with the Porsche. The Porsche seems quite strong at that area of the track. But then look at the power of that Viper. We don't need to go defensive, so no point holding that inside line. It was a bit too far back. And now just trying to keep it nice and smooth, using that throttle control to stop the rear slide. And you've seen the Viper behind us while it's in that dirty air, starting to slide the rear a bit, obviously picking up a bit of loss of aero as he's putting the power down. We're obviously now on the harder tyre as well, with a little bit less grip anyway. And into this final few corners, trying to make sure that we hook up these corners, extremely important. And now into the final corner, which is really important. We're going to have to get a very strong exit here. So on the throttle nice and early, powering into second gear. And we run a little bit wide. We just about stop the spin, but look behind us. Francis follows us, but he's gone too far off, completely lost control of the car, and out the race goes Francis, and that's going to cost him quite a few positions. And the good thing for me is it looks like that's going to give us a fairly easy victory as we go over the line. You see now still 3 seconds in the lead. able to hold on for the final lap and take another victory in this daily race C. So an enjoyable race, another great race, some really good racing going on at this daily race C. And now we go to one final race that we did live on stream. So if you haven't already seen this stream, this was an actually really fun stream. This was my first stream using the Fanatec, where we actually did our fastest finishing time that we had done, including the races with the TGT. This isn't that race we managed to do it in 1956, I think, with Nick, a really good race with Nick, but it was very close fought, wasn't too much going on. This was literally the opposite. This was chaos. Really fun though. So what happened in this race, we got 5 very strong drivers in here. You can see, I think actually more than that, there was quite a few very strong drivers. It was almost like a top split lobby in an FIA for the top 10 drivers or so. But you can see that we've got Francis up there in P2 starting on hard tyre, the same as myself. Throwing a bit of curveball in there, decided to start on the hard tyre because I predicted a lot of battling and fighting. The difficulty of this is going to be is the cars behind us are quite fast drivers. If they're on the mediums, this is going to really be hard to hold on as we go into the braking zone, trying to give him space on the left hand side, and we just about managed to hold on to P5 there. You can see good for myself though behind there battling, which is good. Hopefully they can lose a bit of time, and as we try and concentrate, Derek up ahead in the Peugeot, very strong car for this track again, especially on the tyres, very good on the tyres. Looks like he's on the medium tyre because he's absolutely flying through there. You can see taking a lot of speed through them corners, but you can see Francis up ahead struggling on them hard tyres, just trying to hold on. And this is one of the reasons why I went on the hard tyres, because I thought that one or two drivers might do this. As we see, we're going to let that Viper go through here. No point fighting him. He's on the medium tyres. It's probably better for myself to just let him through on the inside there while I'm on the hard tyre, take advantage of a bit of slipstream, and also it's going to give me a bit of slipstream down the straight if I can hang into him through this section, which hopefully we will be able to do. The Porsche is quite strong through here, so I've just got to try and take some speed, carry the speed through the corners, and get ourselves in that tow onto the final straight, which will gain us a bit of time down the straight then, and hopefully be able to defend against the car behind. So you see, if I didn't do that, I think we'd have had no slipstream and possibly have lost 2 places. But now, because of this, we're in the slipstream, we're going to gain speed all the way down this straight. But will we be able to hold off the car that is behind us now in P7? This is the thing, the Porsche, even in the slipstream, isn't particularly fast. You can see that that car behind us is gaining. Will I have to go defensive? It looks like I might have to. It's gaining so much time. So yeah, we're going to go defensive, let him try and go the long way round. We're going to try and hold as wide a line as possible while giving him the space as we look up ahead. And it looks like Nick has ran wide on them medium tyres, maybe going for an overtake somewhere, outbrakes himself, and off the track he goes. So that's going to be costly for him. I think he was on the medium tyres, so yeah, not what he wanted when starting on mediums. And this is one of the reasons why we started on the hard tyre, to hope that we can fight back at the end with better tyres while they're on the hard tyre. So this race is looking really interesting. Just look at the rate, how close it is at the moment. You can see that different people on different tyres is really throwing a bit of a curveball in there, and this is why I quite like these races. The strategy element of them, you know, what tyre you start on, both were pretty close. There was also a 2-stop strategy that was a few seconds slower, but might have been faster in this situation. You know, getting rid of them hards on lap 1 might have actually been a better way of doing this race. It would have been interesting to see. Maybe for this race would have been going hard, pit, get rid of the tyre, put a fresh set of mediums on, try and fight our way back through as much as possible, and then put mediums on again at the end. But yeah, when you've got a lot of fast drivers, it might have been quite hard to overtake some of the cars in this race at that point. You look how close it is all the way through the field, not much field spread. This is like I say, it's a little bit closer to an FIA race in terms of quality of drivers in here, whereas normally on a daily race they're quite low rated. But I think because we're streaming, a lot more people take part that would normally be watching decide to take part in it as well. Makes these races much more enjoyable. As we make our way over the line to start another lap, the start of lap 3, can we keep this position and try and hold on to that slipstream for as long as possible as we fast forward the action again? Fairly static for a few laps here as we just follow the cars in front of us, trying to stay in the slipstream. You can see how hard it is. We've got Francis just up ahead there, pretty much staying the same gap to how we started. He started in P2, we started in P5. The gap's staying pretty static. It's very hard to actually keep consistent lap times when there's a lot of battling going on. You see that car there decided to go for a dive down the outside, totally misses braking, so that car was out the equation at this point. As we now follow through to the end of lap 4, you can see that Francis up ahead there seems to be battling with the other white Dodge Viper as we now go on to the main straight. And we have the Toyota Supra gaining quite a bit of time on us, but it's still quite far back. It doesn't look like we need to worry about avoiding the slipstream too much or going massively defensive. But yeah, he is gaining, but we decide to stay to the left because he's a little bit too far back into the braking zone. But he actually goes for an absolutely quite a lunge, but doesn't make the braking point very well. I saw it coming. Decided to take the inside line, and yeah, that one was fairly simple. We saw it coming, stayed wide, cut back, better exit, and we get ourselves back into P6. So fast forwarding again for the rest of this lap, and we see that Francis up ahead has picked up another penalty. It looks like it's just a half-second penalty, but that should be long enough just to get myself into the slipstream more than we're verging on getting it here. You can see we're about 1.8 seconds back. But once we get on this straight and he takes that half-second penalty, we should be about 1.2 to 1.3 behind him as we now approach the pit lane. On lap 5, I decided that we're going to go in the pits here because I predicted Francis would pit, because with the penalty he's going to have less straight line speed, so it reduces the loss of time that he's going to get. So yeah, both of us in the pits, and now we're going to go on to medium tyres. Now we've got to pray that we come out in clean air. There was a lot of traffic coming behind us, but I thought that we might just get out ahead of it. Let's take a look as we come out of the pits. Francis there looks like he's into clean air. Oh no, we got 2 cars past us, 3, 4. We've got 4 cars in between us, and Francis has actually managed to get ahead of all of them. So Francis on their medium tyres is just going to be able to shoot off, put in the clean lap times. Unfortunately for me, I'm right in the middle of people on very worn medium tyres. So this is an absolute disaster. We've got to try and get through this traffic as quick as possible. It's quite frustrating, I have to say. Not their fault, but it is frustrating when you're in the situation, when you're in a battle like we were. And now we're going to have to try and find our way through as quickly as possible. As we get pushed wide a little bit there, we're going to have to try and hang it around the outside on the throttle as early as possible. We've gained 1 position there, so now we've got to get past the other 3 cars in front of us. So this is an absolute nightmare. You can see already that Francis is well into the distance. He's probably about 2.5 seconds ahead, and we've got more battling going on here, cars fighting each other. The worst situation that could possibly happen. We should have stayed out and did an extra lap, but yeah, you can't predict this. I thought we'll go in the pits, we'll get the slipstream with Francis, and we'll be able to fight for the win at the end of the race. But unfortunately, this has put end to that. We do a nice move there, getting ourselves up another position. We've got a car in front with a 4-second penalty, struggling on tyres. We're going to throw it up the inside here, much more grip than he's got there obviously with the worn tyres, and we've got the fresh tyres. And just look at that gap to Francis. We've really lost out there a big amount of time. So we've now got to try and do our best to get ourselves back into a position to fight for something in this race now. But this again is the risk that you pay when you go for the strategy of pitting on lap 5. If I would have stayed out on the hard tyres, we probably would have had, we wouldn't have had any traffic, and then we would have had a nice clean entry into pits, clean exit from the pits also with them fresh medium tyres. So unfortunately, it didn't quite work out, but we're going to fast forward the action there and see if we can carry on and get something out of this race. As the other cars, some more cars into the pits there. I think Derek's decided to pit as well there by the looks of it. So the majority of cars are now done their pits. We're in P6, actually 1 position down from where we started. However, we have got the medium tyres on. Some cars have got the hard tyres on as we skip through to lap 9. And we take a little look through this corner, and it looks like Nick, again, has made an error there. It looks like he just got on the curb that can auto spin you, and has gone wide and lost out quite badly there. As again, trying to keep it smooth through here, fast forwarding, and we're up to P5 in this race. A very, very enjoyable race to be involved with, actually. Very close. You can see that P1 isn't actually that far ahead. So if they're on hard tyres, hopefully Francis can mix things up and slow some of the other cars down, and we can get involved with this battle for the win of this race. It's going to be very interesting as we come through to the final 2 laps. Trying to do our best for it. Actually really loving the Fanatec. I have to say it again. The Fanatec I really recommend, especially for iRacing, but even for GT Sport. I much prefer the feeling of grip on the car. It's like the car doesn't understeer as much. So yeah, I just don't think the TGT was particularly suiting me anyway. But yeah, with the Fanatec, 100% enjoying it, loving it. A lot more motivation to play the game. Hopefully we can start doing more videos with this motivation. It's really brought back my love of the game. Really enjoying it 100% again. So let's see now. into these penultimate lap. You can see that a lot of battling is going on up ahead. We're going to rejoin the action, as you see, into the slipstream of P4. We've got the medium tyres, which are going to have more grip than they've got. They've obviously got worn hard tyres. This race is really coming alive for the final lap. You can see 6 cars all within the slipstream on a daily race C. This is, you know, not very often you see this type of thing, but I make a massive mistake trying to save it. Tried to get on the power too early on the curb. Luckily managed to save it very well. We could have been completely out of the race there, but unfortunately we lose that P5 to Nick, putting ourselves down to P6, and we lose the slipstream for that battle for the win. So unfortunately, one very silly error there has cost us a chance to really battle. You can see up ahead of us, you know, 3 car wide, they were all battling. There was a real good opportunity with the medium tyres to go for a good position. As Nick makes a mistake again in this race, runs a little bit wide, we take back that P5 position as the cars up ahead all battling together there, and I'm so frustrated with myself for that silly error. We would have been able to be involved with that up ahead, but unfortunately I made that very, very daft mistake as we go through this long fast corner where the medium tyres still giving me that extra bit of grip over the harder on the tyres. As Francis there, looks like has been involved with, I think it's Derek, for the fight for the lead, has been dived into the corner and almost taken out. So Francis now down to P4 from the lead of the race. Won't be happy with that. We got a car up ahead with a penalty. It's all going off now as we go through to the final sector. As I brake very late, I thought Nick was going for a dive as we touch Francis there. Not very good by myself. Luckily he doesn't get taken out. I went to block off Nick's move down the inside, but unfortunately then that meant I braked a little bit late and nudged Francis. And now we've got to try and defend against Nick in P6 whilst trying to attack P4. This is some crazy racing going on here as we go through to the final 2 corners. On the power as early as we can, a little bit of rear twitching into the final corner, trying to brake very late, but again we're trying to defend against Nick as he tries to go for a move there. We're side by side with Francis. It's a drag race to the finishing line. That is not going to work out very well for the Porsche. The Viper is going to clearly out drag, but we got the car taking the penalty there up in front of us. It looks like we're going to grab P4 in this race as Francis gets himself up to P3. We take P4, Nick in P5, and that Viper with the penalty in P6. What an amazing race. Thoroughly enjoyed all them races. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please take the time to hit that like button if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification button so you don't miss any future videos or streams. And I'll see you all again soon for more videos and live action. Thanks again for watching, everyone.